Jazzcast Pros.
Welcome to the Healthy Illness Podcast. I am your host, Kelly Marie, and this podcast is all about helping you build healthier relationships while living with mental health conditions. We are a part of the Jazzcast Pros Network, and the Healthy Illness Podcast is a part of Front Seat Life LLC, my business, where I really work to help communities of color address mental health and wellness. We do that through mindfulness classes, through workshops around mental health, and even now doula services. And it's all connected. Today's episode is about that connection and about how you know when it's okay to begin adding things back to the plate. So today's episode, by the end, you will be able to begin to identify how to add things back to the plate. We often talk about why it's necessary to take things off of the plate or to, put up our barriers and boundaries and set, intentions and goals and make sure we're not doing too much. We've talked about how to actually take things off the plate, how to have those tough conversations around letting folks know, yes, I made a commitment, but I'm not able to keep that commitment because I'm committing to myself, right? And so once you've done that, you've done all the work, you've removed all the things from the plate, you are managing what does it look like to be in that space, and then what does it look like to begin to add things back? What do you add? What's important? All that. So how this works for me, at the end of the year, so probably like October, I think October, November-ish, I was really overwhelmed, right? And it probably was before that, probably August, but I was reevaluating what my commitments were, right? I had some things on the plate that needed to come off, not because I didn't want to do them, but because I was physically, mentally, emotionally, in some ways financially in a place where I could not dedicate to all of the commitments that I had. And so I had to go through the list, write everything out, figure out where white space needed to be, figure out what things, everything is important to me on my plate. Otherwise, I wouldn't add it to the plate. So I'm already doing things that I think are important, and I needed to walk through that elimination process. All these things are important. All these things are things I committed to. How do I now go about removing them? So we've talked about that. I've done it and even shared with you how while I still wasn't feeling better takes time. I made the decisions. I removed, commitments from my plate of things to do. And it still takes a little time to feel better. It's not like you just check the boxes off, remove the things and the emails, and you're like, I feel great. It takes time for your body to catch up, for your mind to readjust and regulate in that space of health. And so once you're back in that place, which is where I am now, it's time to determine how to put things back on. So I've done this already and my plate is now full, not in a bad way. Full in that there's white space, full in that the boundaries are still up there, full in that I know when to say yes and when to say no. And so it's full in there's comfortable room on the plate for me to be able to move food around, right? So if we go back in time to the land before COVID. And so let me pause. Let me pause because I am currently functioning in this space where I have done some processing and am able to show up here today. We are at a place in our country that we have been before. We are not in any place that is new. We are not doing things that are new. We are not implementing tactics that are new. It may have more technology in it. It may be more advanced in how it's implemented, but we are the same country we have always been from the beginning. The issue that I believe we're facing now, and I'm not going to be on this topic long, but the issue that we're facing now is unfortunately people are beginning to see what other folks, Black folks, Indigenous folks, Chinese folks, Japanese folks, really at West Coast, and we're looking at World War II. Like we are finally, unfortunately, finally at a place where I think all the people, groups within all the people, are unfortunately seeing that what we've all said is true. And until, my opinion, we reckon with who we are, we will not be able to get to the place we believed we were at. And so that requires tough conversations, that requires self-examination, that requires therapy, because folks' identities are trapped up in the American ideal, and that ideal is based on a fallacy. It just always has been that way. And so people are grieving, people are hurting, children are being swept up off the street, parents, people, period, are being swept up off the street. Americans and folks that have come here to live the American dream are being shot in the street for existing. And so I am grossly aware of what's happening. And also, I know that I need to keep showing up in order for you to be able to get the things you need in order to manage your life. And so this podcast is not a podcast about specifics as far as, outside of mental health space and my journey in this mental health space and the pieces of my life that connect to this part of the journey. And with that, I've already done processing. I've already done crying. I've already done anger. I've already done sadness. I've already done depression. I've gone through a lot of emotions, a lot of thinking, a lot of processing to be able to show up here to you today. And so I don't want to vomit my feelings all over you. And so me showing up here means I'm showing up in a space that I've done what I needed to in order to be present. And so I'm not disconnected. I'm very much connected and sitting from a different perspective and vantage point and place of processing, perhaps, than many others. It's not good or bad. It just is what it is. And so because of that, because of the work I've already done, the tears I've already cried, the shouting on the phone I've done with my friends and loved ones, I can't do that here with you in 20 minutes. And so my encouragement to you is to feel the feelings, process them, cry, scream, yell, do what you need to do in a healthy space for you to be able to process and get busy. Get busy doing the work, because this will not change until you do that. It just won't. And so, with that understanding, with that acknowledgement, I'm able to now talk about how I'm in a place to be able to add things back to my plate. Right. And so I think it's important to have that bit of understanding. Otherwise, this comes off as real weird and tone deaf. Like she just out here, talking and skipping, and people out here dying in the streets. People have always been out here dying in the streets, which is why I do this work. This is not new. And so I am at a different place of reflection than many others. So with that, I want to take some time and talk about adding back to the plate. If you've been following along, if you've been listening to the podcast over the years, you've seen the highs and lows. Listen, I've been here and I've cried, right? Like, so I'm not saying that every episode is this great, wonderful, warm and fuzzy, positive spin on life. It's not. It is very real and honest. And that is who I am and where we are. I'm actually supposed to be on a plane right now. We're in the middle of a storm that's affecting half the country. And I did not plan ahead. So even though I'm adding things back onto my plate, I'm still Kelly Marie. So I did not plan ahead. I did not record on time. I don't have a recording for next week. So this will either be our regular Monday or it'll be next week's Monday. I don't know. I'm leaving that to the incredible Jazzy T, who manages that part of my life. And for that, I am thankful and appreciative because, girl, I couldn't manage me if I was you. I couldn't. And that is why we are all different and need to lean into the places where we are strong and where we are built well. So going through this pre-COVID time, Front Seat Life LLC was offering workshops and was offering in-person gatherings around stress management. We had Destination Relaxation, which was a really incredible program where attendees got to spend a half day with me and my friends in this wellness space and talk to dietitians, talk to hypnotherapists, talk to and participate in yoga and stretching classes, to participate in mindful movement and aerobics classes, to be able to do a little gardening, to be able to journal and practice what that looks like. I don't think we ever dipped into artwork, but that is a place I would love to go in this, future space. And so I was very busy in that part of my life. I was working at a local hospital here and did a lot of community work and also had time to manage business. And so COVID came, I took a step back. The podcast was here and I poured into the podcast, and that's really what my focus was. Managing COVID, still working, but from home for the most part once it got up and going, COVID that is. And I was able to still manage the podcast. So we've been at this 5 years. Has to be 5 years, right? I took another position, one that I have now, and I needed to build something from nothing. There was no staff, there was no furniture, there was no programming, there was no policies. And so I know what I can and can't handle for the most part. I knew that I could not continue building Front Seat Life and also building this new organization. And so I needed to cut back on Front Seat Life activities. And so right at the height of all of the things, we had the Color of Crazy series where we brought folks in that live with mental health conditions, and we had a panel discussion with them as the panelists and in talking with community members to learn about these different conditions and how they actually function in life. Side note, I just want to say I'm sorry if you can hear the noises in the background. The heat is on, it's cold, I can't turn it off. And not that I can't, but I'm not. And also, I have my dishwasher running because I'm supposed to be on a plane. So I set up all the things to go, and they're running in the background. So if you hear that noise, Jazzy is incredible at being able to filter things out, but some things just are what they are. And that's the life that I live. Always trying to do the thing. So I needed to be able to build this organization. And I wanted to maintain the podcast, and that was my commitment. I'm going to remove the other parts of Front Seat Life, put them on the back burner, right? They're not gone. They're not things I'll never do again, but it's not something I can focus on right now because I need to spend all of my time in this very difficult, demanding space that demands more of me, not just in the 9 to 5, but when I'm at home. I need, because I'm building something new, and my brain does not just shut off and says, all right, I'm done with work, so I'm not thinking about work after 5 o'clock. It doesn't work that way. The reading that I needed to do, the research that I needed to do, a lot of that was still done outside of the 9 to 5 because it's also applicable to Front Seat Life and the greater equity work that I do. At the same time, it was done for this 9 to 5 job. And so we just celebrated our 4th anniversary. Blows my mind that we've been at this for 4 years, but we have been. And here we are. We are now at a point in the day job space. My team is hired and trained and doing the work. I am able to be a visionary and guide. And so we've matured to a place where I have now time to focus back on Front Seat Life. The first thing I did in that focus was become a doula, right? So that was a year and a half ago that I started that journey. One of the things I wanted to do was I needed to be able to fund Front Seat Life work. I don't believe that people should have to pay for their health. And so I want to be able to offer programming that is free to community members to participate in. There will be programming, more hands-on things, more things like destination relaxation that will require, payment tickets and all that kind of stuff. But generally, like this podcast, I want you to have this always. The mindfulness workshops, I want you to have that always. And so being a doula allows me to do that. Being embedded in the University of Buffalo and helping them with their equity work allows me to be able to do that. And so building a business and kind of rebuilding, because so many things were in the back burner, is a time taking process. And so now that I have the doula work fairly strong, like if you want me to be your doula, you need to let me know as soon as you find out you're pregnant, because my schedule filled up. Like, I'm just saying. So if that is what you desire, you need to let me know. So that work is contained. And so I built that part of the work to be a piece, not overwhelming. I'm not taking on, 5 and 10 births a month. Like I don't have the capacity to do that, because Front Seat Life it requires me to do other things. And so when I set up the doula piece, I worked with Shannon John. Did you check out her episode? Because it was the bomb. We did too. Worked with Shannon to figure out what would work best with my life. How much time will one client take? How much time will two clients take? How much time does it take if I'm adding postpartum work to the prenatal and birth work? So we worked together to be able to figure out a schedule for me to add what I needed in the doula space in order to still be able to do my day job and also do the rest of Front Seat Life. And so that is now at a place where it's stable. My schedule is full in that space, right? And it is manageable. I have set up my self-care routines in that space. We'll talk about that because that was actually something that happened recently. And what that self-care looks like after a birth. But I've set that up so that runs and works very well. The other piece that is left is the rest of Front Seat Life. And so now that work is set, now that the doula work is set, I am able to begin to add those other pieces back. The first thing I did was take the class at Brown to become a mindfulness facilitator. People will not always see the work you're doing to get to your destination. It is important that you are seeing and you are aware of what you need to do and the decisions that you're making in order to get to your destination. But it's not for everybody to know. First of all, because it's not their business, but and I'm not telling you to work in a silo. You should have like your council with people that you work with that are there for you to listen and guide and just be there and support. But at the same time, you don't have to say all of the things, because it can be a distraction to you to complete the things just by honestly people wanting the best for you. And then there's the ones that don't. So forgetting the ones that don't, people generally that are close to you, if you've built your circle, want the best for you. And so sometimes it's important to just add things and then announce them when they're in place. And so now listen, I don't do that. I tell you all my business, but that's me. And I want you to function in a space that is best for you. But telling folks all of the things is not always a good thing. And so now that I have the mindfulness facilitation certification piece done, I've begun adding the mindfulness classes back. I ran into, I feel like a lifelong friend. We met in grammar school, and we spent a summer together in summer school. So big shout out to Stacey Lewis Buford. We ran into each other at an event this weekend. She was like, "I see that you're doing the work again," right? Like she already knows the 9 to 5 work. She knows about the doula work. She was specifically talking about front seat life work. And so it was heartwarming to me that somebody that I've known for a while, who I haven't seen lately, like we see each other in it's Buffalo. So if you know anything about Buffalo, if you know somebody, you're gonna run into them, but not really to spend time together. And so we had a quick chat, and so she was like, it was good to see that Front Seat Life is doing the things again, but that was intentional. I didn't have the capacity to also pour into Front Seat Life the way I needed to. And so I did the things that I was able to, which was this podcast, right? And speaking engagements. And so now we have mindfulness workshops, and I'm building out what that looks like. That is where we are right now as far as putting things back on the plate. I told you there's still white space, right? There's still space because and when I say that there's white space, that white space is not self-care time. Self-care time is a part of the schedule. So the plate being full includes self-care. The white spaces are not self-care time. That's actually space in my life where nothing is happening. And if I chose to fill up the plate, which I have not, but if I chose to fill that up with things to do, the filling up would also include more self-care time. And so I think that's also an important piece to know and understand is that your plate being full, your schedule being full, that fullness needs to include self-care time, whatever that looks like for you. And so as I begin to build back what Front Seat Life looks like, it will be a slow, probably seeming process because it takes time to do the things. Again, the classes that I had to take, the education that I had to go through in order to learn and understand and do the work to become a doula, to do the work to become a mindfulness facilitator. All of those things core to who I am as a person. So I did not have to learn me, but you may have to learn you in this process. You need to add that to the plate. That's a part of the work is learning who you are and how you're able to show up. And so with that, I want you to be able to walk away from our conversation today with the understanding that the white space is not self-care time, and adding things back should be purposeful, should be intentional, and should be about your end goal, whatever that end goal is for you. Mine is a healthy community where we are able to be mentally and physically strong. I'm focusing on the mental piece, right? And I mean, depending upon also the physical piece, if depending upon how you view doula work, but I view that really also as mental work, and mental health work, that birth work piece. So, with that, I would love to hear if you have gone through this process of removing and adding in a way that is filling to you without spilling over. Like how is that working for you? Even if it did spill over, right? Like I want to know how you were able to add to what you saw if it did spill over. Like what was your, oh shoot, I added too much to my plate moment, because that's important learning. That's also honestly a informal part of mindfulness as well, is always, this place of being aware without judging yourself in that awareness. And so always more to come in the mindfulness space, more to come from Front Seat Life LLC, which is the home of the Healthy Illness podcast. I think I'm going to try and do something special with Jazz for our next recording if she's open to it. You'll know basically when I know, right? Like the next episode will be the special thing if we're able to pull that off together. So until the next time, I encourage you to be the light. Stay safe out here as you give, as you protect, as you stand up for others. Make sure that you're also doing the same for yourself. It's important and necessary to this journey. that we are all healthy and we're thriving, even in the fight. And so if you need someone to talk to, 988, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 988 is available to you. If you are having a mental health emergency or someone you know and care about is having a mental health emergency, you can call, text, or chat that number. And then if you're looking for resources, 211, available throughout most of the US. 211, you can get services and things like that in your community. And if you're interested, be the light. We got this. We got this.